All right, this next video comes to us from Choy, which is a content creator we've watched for a very, very long time on both, the Twitch and the YouTube side of things. So, especially with somebody we've watched for a really long time, make sure that if you haven't by this point, make sure you subscribe to this creator by hitting that link that just showed up in the chat above my head. If you're on YouTube, get in the description below. Choy is a very, very interesting creator for me to watch because we usually, for a lot of aspects, don't see eye to eye on a lot of things in Dead by Daylight. Namely that they are very, very like doom and gloom about the game, where I'm trying to see the game more as it actually is. Some things are positive, some things are negative. Troy usually errs on the side that like the game is permanently kind of going in a terrible direction and there's not much we can do to save it, which paints a, I think, more dour picture than the game is actually in. But their ideas and stuff are still very, very interesting, and they're like, that's kind of the point of like reacting to a lot of different YouTube videos in the DB content creation sphere, is that we're kind of gaining like the community feel, like we're keeping a pulse on the community and what they feel and what they think, even if it's not something that's like rational. Like keeping their ideas and analyzing them is still very, very interesting. So yeah, see what they say about this Call of Duty Pick 10 system. I haven't played COD in forever. I'm wondering if they're talking about the Pick 10 system in terms of like loadouts. Where like you have a set number of points, so you can do like 4 perks and then so many gun attachments, but then you have to kind of balance that out. You can load like 3 gun attachments, but then like you may not be able to run a full set of perks, stuff like that. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about. Like I said, I haven't played COD in a bit. I used to be a COD kid, but I haven't been in a long time, so I'm assuming that's what they're talking about. But let's see what they have to say.
The addition of skill-based matchmaking, as well as balance changes that sometimes feel like they come straight out of a slot machine, DBD is truly reaching a point where nearly everyone is running the same exact builds. It makes every match feel very similar to the last, and it's the primary reason why I think people, especially veteran players, are finding DBD to be pretty boring or stale at the moment.
I'm gonna make a video about this.
This is not a problem that can really be fixed through conventional balance. For example, if they nerf these 2 gen defense perks, then the next 2 best gen defense perks will immediately take their spot. Or if we nerf this,
which I think is fine as long as those things that happen are interactive. I've said this in plenty of videos, but like the problem with DBDs and at the high meta, in my opinion, is not like that the fact that the perks are the same, is that the perks that are the same are not very interactive. Prove happens in the background for like no input. Doesn't require much thought on the survivor's end. How many times do you guys see me just go live like love, and I watch a guy just like literally vault a window and suddenly extend a chase by like 10-12 seconds just cause they vaulted a window. Like 10-12 seconds is a big amount of time in Dead by Daylight. It doesn't feel like it, but match time's gen time. Somebody just extending a chase just cause out of nowhere, as long as they didn't take the window at a bad time, which does happen a lot, Lifebrain. Now imagine like the whole team has it, because the meta is very much the same and synonymous at this point. Yeah, like every chase in your game being like 12 seconds longer, that adds up for nothing other than I vaulted the window. No, don't get me twisted. Killer has plenty of stuff that does that too. At least a lot of the killer perks do require an input, I will give credit for, like pain res. It stops at a certain point and you have to get unique hooks. Pop, you have to like hook somebody to continue to use it. So killer design makes a little bit more sense in terms of interactivity, because a lot of killer perks are a reward for something you've already done. It's just kind of like the potency is kind of like really, really high. That's the only issue there. And I don't even know if the potency would be high if you couldn't run like 3 or 4 at the same time. The numbers that they have are honestly fine. Like, when you play Survivor and you run into killer matches where the killer's only running 1 or 2 slowdown, your matches feel pretty fair. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, because it's just based more on how they utilize those 2 perks and how well you play. Well, suddenly when you get to 3 or 4 slowdown, it's just kind of like they can make a lot of mistakes and it just doesn't feel like it matters because the perks together are overwhelming. So maybe the Pick 10 system would be the answer.
Really overused exhaustion perk, then everyone will just move to the next best exhaustion perk. Or my god, maybe the devs will try to make a new strong perk and completely destroy the game in the process. Basically, the balance team can shift all of these parts around as much as they want, but as they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That's why I believe the only thing that could actually fix DBD's meta problem is Call of Duty's Pick 10 create a class system, And I'm not joking. For those who don't know, pick 10
that would fix the situation I just described with Killer, where the problem is not that slowdown is badly designed. Slowdown, it could just be stacked to a point where it's like overwhelmingly strong and erases your mistakes. If that is the way we go about like handling how stacking slowdown is just super impressive, that is one way to go about it. My other idea with this would be like diminishing returns, because it's already a system that exists in the game. When you hop on a gen with somebody, your gen still goes faster, but there is a active penalty. Like you get red barred, because having multiple people on the gen has a diminishing return to it the more you hop on the gen together. So applying that to like slowdown would probably make sense, because if you're applying the same effect over and over, like if you apply like Thana, Penta at the same time, double red bar effect, you get slightly less. Or like, you know, just something like that would probably make a little bit of sense. But
it was added to Call of Duty back in Black Ops 2, and it allowed players to have a more creative freedom over their builds, because instead of just having the basic options of 2 guns, 2 attachments, 3 perks, and equipment, Pick 10 gave players options to remove certain parts of their build, like perks and equipment, to instead put every possible.
You know how funny it would be? Like, think about the expanse of how much you could do with this. Think about it. Like, I'm gonna run 1 info perk and then like 4 add-ons. You know how funny that would be? There could be some hilarious setups. This could be funny.
On their gun or vice versa. So they were trading value from one end of their build to put it somewhere else. Now,
I would die happy if I could run self-destruct bolt and both the anti-turret add-ons. That would be so nice. So nice. I would love that. I would love that so much. Ooh.
If you try to apply this same exact system to DBD without changing anything, it would not fix any problems, and in fact it would probably make the issues I brought up before even worse, because DBD is not Call of Duty. The Pick 10 system would need to be modified, otherwise players would just pick the absolute best build their favorite content creators would show them, and behavior's already struggling balance team would probably explode. So DBD would need its own variation of the system. However, as I'll explain in this video, DBD having a Pick 10 or currency-based system would have a crazy amount of benefits to it, not only for players, but the balance team and the design team as well. Now, before I start showing examples, I want to be clear that these numbers are only a concept. If you think the values are off on anything like a certain perk or add-on, just change them around in your head. It's really the idea that I want to promote and not so much the numbers exactly.
I'm pretty sold so far, to be honest.
And I know that this is
being able to run more add-ons at the expense of perks sounds really hilarious.
People literally
it sounds really fun.
Destroy their keyboards over minor perk changes around here, but I am imploring you to entertain the idea and give it a chance.
You're tired. Good to see you, bud.
You implore me?
Hopefully your Tuesday stream now.
You implore me. You always were one for fancy words.
So for our first example, let's start with Killer. Let's look at Freddy and Nurse. In my personal opinion, Freddy is the worst killer in the game, and Nurse is the best. Right now, this is viewed as a problem. People will say Nurse needs nerfed and Freddy needs a buff, right? Freddy is too weak and Nurse is too strong. It's sort of the community's never-ending endeavor to push everything to the middle balance-wise. But now, with this currency system, things are allowed to be at different levels of strength without there being a problem, because this allows for killers to have different currency pools. So Freddy, being the weakest killer in the game, can have 100 points to spend on his build, whereas Nurse, being the strongest, now has way less points available.
So we're not actually doing a pick 10 system. We're doing a essentially like forcing the devs to kind of like tier list the characters and give them different point systems. You really, I don't trust. We were just talking about how inept the balance team has been with their decisions. You're gonna trust them to accurately rate killer strengths? That is not gonna go well. That is not gonna go well. That's not going. I mean, even then, like I just said, like I think Myers without Tombstone is the weakest character in the game. But because, you know, Otts made that video where Otts made Freddy the weakest character character in the game. A lot of people are going to assume that now Freddy is the weakest character in the game. I personally think the map mobility in tandem with like kick perks and good slowdown, he can apply more pressure than Myers can. Sans Tombstone. All right. But like even the DBD content creator community who play this game like religiously have sometimes some very out there and varying takes on what killers are strong and what killers are weak. So you would trust them to make an accurate tier list of the characters and the sign points appropriately? I don't think that's, I unfortunately don't think it's realistic. Yeah, they think Trapper's fine in 2024. The good thing is like Trapper is theoretically easy to fix because there's, well, not easy to fix, but like a lot of his add-ons, if you just make him base kit, he's way better. They just have to like completely add-on rework Trapper, just make a bunch of his add-ons base kit and just like rework what his add-ons do. Like the start with all your traps with no downside, you should just do that. You should just have that. I don't know why you got to go pick them up. It just doesn't make sense. So a lot of these can just be made base kit and they can just give him completely new add-ons. But yeah, the case in point being that I don't trust behavior to balance these or to give point balance correctly. I think the idea of being able to like, I like the idea, at least what it seemed like was being said, was that like I can only run 2 perks and then run like 3 or 4 add-ons. It'd be really funny. You create some really, really interesting like dynamic situations. Like imagine like what's a really, really fun one? What's like a really, really fun idea with like a character that's like not that good? I would love to be able to, like we were just talking about, I would love to be able to like run drop leg sheath with both the Brown add-ons. Like that would feel so good. I would willingly not run a full loadout of perks and not an offering, so I could run drop leg sheath with the 2 Browns. That would feel so good. That'd be great. I would love that. That'd be super fun. Or like it would be really powerful Oni with blood, speed, and duration. That might be this is where we should probably weigh these things a little bit. But like this is probably where this weight system might have some credence, because that would be turbo strong. But you know how fun that would be? But then again, the Oni would be down a perk. So I don't know. It's just like one of those things that I think would be dynamic and interesting. Yeah, what do you? I was thinking about Billy too in terms of like I'd run like 1 info perk and just like low pro, Thompson House mix, cravings. Like it'd be so fun. Just go chainsaw crazy, but like not have the perks to back myself up. I was trying to think of like a fun one with Myers too. Like, yeah, you can do like Vanity Mirror with like the stock speed. Because usually you don't want to run the stock speed ever because it's useless. But if you can run it, Vanity Mirror stock speed, and then, oh my gosh, there's just so much you can do. It opens up so many like opportunities. Now, obviously, I feel like there's like, you would still have some sweat because most killers have like mangled add-ons. So you'd have essentially everybody running mangled, their mangled add-on. Ooh, I was thinking, you know what's a good one? Huntress. Just do extra hatchets or O-Caft and then like, or better add-ons like Babushka Rose Root, so I can have extra hatchets or have like the extra recovery. That'd be so fun.
Available because her power is
Shiny
so
pin.
oppressive.
No.
Now, before I continue with this, I need to quickly address some problem points. First off, this is not a nerf killer video. I'm going to address survivors as well, but mainly I just want to address the biggest counter argument to a currency system like this, which is, do I really trust or believe that Behavior's balance team is capable of managing a system like this? And it really is a good counter argument, because a lot of people wouldn't trust the balance team at Behavior to tie their own shoes. But that's kind of the point. A currency system is complex for sure, but as opposed to what exactly? Balancing every perk, every power, every item, and every add-on in the game? That's way more difficult and time consuming than simply adding a currency system.
Well, you have to balance every, no, it's both. It's not an either or. You have to do both for this system. You have to balance the perks now with the idea that they have to be funneled into a point system afterwards as well. So step 1 is design the perk. Step 1 is the intention of the perk. Like, what is it going to be? Step 2 is how strong is it in terms of balance? And step 3 is, okay, based on how strong it is, what points do we assign it? You've actually added an extra layer with this. So you've actually made them work more. Not less, or side grade where it's like, oh, it's just something else. Like they have to do more with this system. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, Tyre. I'm interested to see if he talks about that. Like, would new killers be just given like a random point system until like we figure out if they're good or what their good add-ons are? That's a really, really good point. That could be scary.
And so right now, if the devs want to change a perk, first they have to decide what they want to do differently with the perk. Then a programmer actually has to change the perk, likely creating new bugs in the spaghetti coding. Then that change has to be supposedly play tested, maybe just by us on the PTB. Then the perk changes have to be finalized for the live release. It's a lot of work, and in the end, for what? There's no good outcome. The perk is either too weak, so nobody uses it, it's too strong, so it needs nerfed again, or it replaces another perk in the meta because it does the same thing another perk already did, just a little bit better. So really nothing is accomplished and the devs waste a bunch of time. But with a currency system, they don't even have to update the game. They could just change the currency value of the perk on the back end like they do with the kill switch. So yes, that's a really long-winded way of saying
I don't know, because
would...
like, let's take an example here, right? Let's take an example here. Like, let's say like lightweight. Lightweight's kind of a quirky perk that's not very helpful. Kind of confuses newer players, but not really a lot. So the idea in this fictional system is that like lightweight will be worth like less points to run because it's not that good. It's still not that good, right? Like, it's still not that great. It's still not a fun effect to have. Like I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't understand how like making lightweight cheaper makes it compelling to run, because it still doesn't have a good effect. So like,
trust behavior to manage a currency system more than I would trust them to manually fix every other balance problem.
And before someone in YouTube comments, he's like, I use lightweight. It's really fucking good. Like I haven't taken off lightweight. How many hours do you have? 75. Shut up. Shh. Backspace your comment.
In the game. Also, to anyone who makes the claim that a currency system is too confusing for the DBD player base, I call BS. The devs can literally announce a 0.1% change to an add-on.
He always rating me. Meow. Hi, friend. I was to stream. How do things go? Thank you for trusting me with your people. Run people use them. Yeah, it's like not changing the fact that these perks are either weak or not fun or not effective. It's just like, okay, well, let's just make them cheaper so they're more alluring to run. And it's like, well, the effect is still bad. You know, like I would still not really want to run that too much. So I'm with you.
Overnight, nobody will ever use it again. Like, the DBD community can pretend they don't pay attention to these things, but I definitely can see that they do. So the indication that they wouldn't be able to handle a very simple currency system, I'm not buying that. And the last point I want to make is that if anyone wants to use the DBD competitive scene as a counter argument to this currency system, you can't, because they have a million unique rules to the point where it's basically a different game entirely. All right, so finally getting back to Freddy and Nurse. Freddy can use his 100 points to create a really strong build. He can use great perks and his best add-ons. Maybe he even has enough left over to afford a map offering. Now, you might say, well, he's just running...
You know what this is? You know what this is? This is breakable walls applied to builds in general. And let me explain why I mean to that. Exactly. It's a punishment. That's why I think, if you guys haven't heard my rant about breakable walls, I think breakable walls are one of the most piss poor, boring design decisions in this game, because breakable walls add nothing to the gameplay. They're specifically an inhibitor to killer besides like 2 or 3 walls in the game, just cause. They don't add anything to the gameplay. They don't change the way certain loops are played. It's just making killers do a fucking chore to continue playing the game. It is literally a punishment for no reason. It inhibits the gameplay. It does not enhance the gameplay in any way. This is the same thing. This is like, hey, if you just find Blight fun, and it's not about the sweat thing, and it's not about the fact that he's top 3 character, get bent. Like, this is just only inhibiting. This is not enhancing gameplay in any way. I don't get to run extra add-ons. Like, I just am not allowed to do certain things now. It's just specifically an inhibitor. Which is like what he was saying earlier in his video. Is like, oh, I didn't want people to see this as just like us just nerfing killer, and it kind of is. Just the only certain ones, you know.
Normal meta build. How did this currency system fix anything? Well, because someone might actually pick Freddy now. That's the difference. Moving on to Nurse, the best killer in the game in my opinion. She has 50 points to spend on her build. Now she can run 2 strong perks with some
You're
decent...
buying the game for all of these perks? Just to like end up not having access to them just because you happen to like certain killers? Like I'm one of those people that I love almost the entire roster besides like 3 or 4 people, right? And we were running through those earlier, Hag. Like like at worst I find most of the roster kind of uninteresting or boring, but I can still have a good time with them. And there's a lot of characters I enjoy. Like, Xenoverse has obviously been my main thing lately. But, like, you know, I like Huntress. I main Huntress at one point. I main Billy at one point. I main Myers at one point. I think Wraith can be fun. I feel like I have a lot of fun when I play Nemesis. I like playing Oni. I like playing Wesker. Like, I like most of the roster. Unknown's fun. I'll play Unknown when they come out. So they have the idea that I just, like, may happen to like a high-tier character... And now I just like don't get to run the perks that I've bought and paid for as much. Sucks. Like that feels bad. And this is like a system that's being specifically made for like veteran players who probably own all this stuff. So like I don't get to get value out of all this money that I spent on the game. No. Why don't you play Cloud instead if you want to use all your perks, you idiot? Yeah, you want to use all your perks, play Cloud, doofus. Stay out of the top 3. Stay out of top 5. Stay out of top 10. Okay.
Add-ons, or she can adapt and find a more creative way to spend her points. And you might say, isn't this just basically a way to nerf strong killers?
Yep.
And no, that's not the point. And
but that's what it does. But that's what it does. You can say it's not the point. But that's what's happening. That's what it does.
It's a way to keep strong killers strong. Look at the broader picture. Both killer and survivor, especially survive with friends, would be restricted in a way that actually allows for more diversity. With a currency system, Nurse can be extremely strong with strong add-ons, and nothing needs nerfed. She can exist in the game without causing issues.
It's not what I'm trying to do. It's just a byproduct of my choices.
The devs from creating stronger, interesting perks like she has in the past. As it stands now with the current system, it's probably only a matter of time before Nurse gets another inevitable nerf or rework. Also, on a side note, I thought it would be a cool idea to take any unused points in a build and convert that into bonus blood points. This incentivizes players not to go out of their way to spend every last point, or maybe even go into matches with no build for 100% extra blood points.
That I think should just be in the game. That I think should just be in the game. Not even tied to like a pick 10 system. That should just be in the game. If you want to do like challenge runs where you only run like 2 perks or no add-ons, you should just get blood points for that. That should just be in the game, period.
First, let's start with a solo queue player. In my example here, a solo queue player is as weak as Freddy. Maybe you see it differently, but the solo queue survivor...
Is he about to punish you for playing with your friends? Is he about to go full killer edit on us? Please tell me that's not where this is going. Is he about to be like, play with your friends? Time to not enjoy perk builds. Get bent, idiot. You want to run a flashlight? Not with your friends, you're not. What the... Hello?
Would have 100 points to spend on their build. Now, they could do the very typical meta build and leave no points for an item or a map offering, or they could run less oppressive perks, then bring a medkit and a map offering. So they would still have some restrictions.
I had a Survivor era that was really intense, like at the end of last year. You know what I did in all those 4-mans? Died at like 4 or 5 gens going for flashlight saves and flashbang saves. That is all we did. We did not attempt to win the game. We were like, let's do something funny, even if it means us literally dying. Now I'd be being punished for that, and it wasn't even my intent to win. Like
Like Freddy, but way more freedom than what you would find in a 4-man Swift. Also, if I'm triggering anyone with the map offerings, I do apologize. I agree with the idea that they should be map bans instead of map picks. But back to the point about 4-man survive with friends. And again, these are just conceptual numbers, but assuming 100 points is base kit.
Well, the concept is bad, not the numbers. The concept is bad.
A 2-man Swift would have 90 points each.
Yeah, why am I not allowed to run certain perks if I play with my friends? Like, every Friday for the open lobby, we don't run good perks most of the time. We'll run enough to get us by, but like, we don't run the meta for the most part. We just like be miserable every Friday. Like, guys, can't run anything even remotely good. We're in a 4-man, not even on comms, just suffer. Like,
A 3-man Swift would have 80 points each, and a 4-man Swift would have 70 points each to use for their builds. So a survivor
you know how fucking annoying that would be? Like, what if you're actually in comms with like your bud? You're like, okay, we squatted up. Okay, like, I want to run sprint burst. No, that's too high points. I want to run sprint burst. Okay, well, no, one of us has to run sprint burst because it costs too much. Who gets the sprint burst? Okay, well, I want sprint burst. No, I want sprint burst. Okay, who gets the sprint burst? I'm tired of arguing about it. Like, do you see how many issues this is going to create? like, oh no. Oh man. Like, usually, yeah, turning basic Q into comp, which is what we're trying to avoid, because that's what we do when we play competitive. For reference, I'm only playing charity competitive. I don't do actual comp. Making that clear before somebody's like, well, you don't have actual comp experience. You've only run scrims. I know. But like, we play by comp rules, and that's what we do. We sit in our little call. We're like, I think I'm going to run I'll run sprint burst. I'll run DS. So that means you two can't run it. You know, like, that's what we do. So you're just inviting that into pubs now. I like, usually a lot of the time, like, how dare you have your friends is kind of like a funny thing that like the DBD community does, and like, really the only people that like really actually fully believe that are the people that are just like so in deep into the killer community that they take the game way too seriously. I've not seen somebody who tries to err as much on the side of being unbiased literally just be like, hey, yo, Swift dead, 4-man dead, like duo dead, like playing your friends cringe. Like, I have not seen somebody who attempts to be down the middle have such an anti-play with your friends like idea. It is so interesting.
4-man Swift would now have to either say, screw it, I'm just going to take 3 strong perks and that's going to be my entire build, or they'll have to get more creative and trade out strong perks for less powerful versions of themselves. Instead of sprint burst, take dramaturgy. Instead of windows of opportunity, take any means necessary.
Windows.
Hope or adrenaline replaced with no one left behind. And then there's a little wiggle room left for a med kit and some anti-tonal.
Do you know how bad this would be for brand new people? Do you know how bad this would be for brand new people that just buy DBD just to play with their friends? It is a party game at its heart. People buy this game just to go run and hide from Myers. What do? So a lot of people buy this game just because they get to play their favorite Resident Evil characters again, because the games are story games. So once you beat the game, there's not a lot of repeat content. What do? You just hop on your little 4-man with your little energy drinks and your snacks, and you just want to chill for the evening, and now you have to like micromanage a point system. Like, they're gonna be so confused. This is very hostily anti-casual player. Yeah, like, this is the whole point of this, is to avoid a comp and competitive setting, and it's kind of creating one in pubs. That is the funniest shit. This is doing quite literally the opposite of what he wants.
Another thing that Call of Duty's Pick 10 system had was wildcards. These cards would take up one of your 10 slots, reducing it to 9, but would unlock a unique option in your build, like, for example, running an additional perk. Now, I don't know if this is a great idea for DBD.
Oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about at the beginning. That'd be super fun.
For the balance side of things, It wouldn't be so difficult to implement, as cheaters often run way more than 4 perks, so that's not so much the issue as the balance side of it itself. So it's not out of the question, but wildcards are not something that should launch initially with the system if it was ever added to DBD. That said, I do think this opens up an interesting idea on using perks or add-ons that are detrimental to the player, but with the added benefit of adding currency to their build. For example, No Mither. A survivor could use it to weaken themselves and then try to use those extra bonus points to make a more unique build that other players
I feel like that's a slippery slope too, because you're going to start intentionally like introducing bad perks into the game just to be plus points for the system, which is like,
same thing for
you already have enough bad perks.
Meme add-ons like Speed Limiter. And again, this opens up more doors for the developers to think outside the box when designing or even redesigning perks. Unlike with No Mither and Speed Limiter that can still be used effectively in certain ways, the devs can now make straight up negative perks that still have a currency trade-off.
Why is this a good thing? Why do we want perks that suck on purpose? That was one of the things you said at the beginning of this video, my dude, was like, there's too many useless perks in the game. Now you're at the end of the video saying, we should introduce more bad perks into the game. What are we fucking doing? What is happening? We're in Candyland. We have left the board, man. I feel like SpongeBob. We're not talking about this or this. We're talking about this. You literally, one of the base things you said about this system was to make bad perks good and want them to be used. And now you're like, let's make intentionally bad perks and put them in the game. What is happening? What planet am I on? What's my rising sun sign? What is it? Because I'm on that planet, not this one. I'm an aquatic. I'm on Aquarius. I don't know. This video's entertaining. This is a great pick. This is a great pick. This is hilarious. I will say, the wildcard idea, intentionally not have the ability to run full 4 perk loadout so I could get more add-ons, that sounds hilarious. That sounds fun. I would love that. Probably not do it the opposite way, because then you don't want people to run like 5 slowdowns. But like, more add-ons would be hilarious. What about double offerings? I can run blood points and a map offering? Okay, map offerings are problematic in general. But more blood points, and then maybe like a luck offering? More blood points, oak offering? That'd be good. Hit the B. Triple brightest flashlight. Tiramisu and blood points. Ooh. Tiramisu and BPS. Double miss. Just fog up the place. It's hilarious though. That sounds funny. That sounds zany and hilarious, like a party game should be. Choy playing a duck head. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's entertaining though.
Like a modifier. For example, a perk where you as a survivor are oblivious the entire match. That's it. That's the entire perk. But it gives you a lot more points to spend on the rest of your build to make up for it.
But like one of the things you also talked about was perk bloat. Like there's too many perks in the game. So you're going to intentionally be dumping perks in the game that quite literally have zero fucking effect besides being bad on purpose. And blown up the game with even more perks.
In general, the design team using a currency system would be way more free to create really strong or really weak killers, perks, add-ons, and items, while unironically maintaining a way more balanced game than DBD is currently. No matter how good a player is at Dead by Daylight, they are ultimately propped up by their builds and what they bring into a match. I have played against amazing nurse players who ran no perks or add-ons and got 4-man outed, and I've played against gutter tier nurses that run full meta and get a 4K. Builds make an enormous difference in outcomes, and unfortunately, it's really easy to outperk people in DBD. Now, you could still make the argument that players will still find the most optimal builds for every killer and in Survive with Friends, but I think you would genuinely be surprised how difficult that would actually be with a currency system like this. There would just be so much variability that even if a specific nurse player decided they found their perfect build, it most likely wouldn't be the build enough. another nurse main would prefer to use. And even if that did happen, where there became a standardized meta build for nurse.
Yeah, you imagine that, you become a hindrance to your team at that point. Like, DBD already has problems with, like, your teammates sucking, even if you are together. Like, you imagine, like, oh, why does so-and-so keep going down so much? Oh, they're running the Oblivious all the time perk. And they're like, oh, well, why did they do that? And then you're, like, arguing after the fact. You're like, bro, stop running the Oblivious all the time perk. Like that.
Our nurse mains used, not only would it still be more balanced than the game currently is right now, but the balance team could slightly alter the value of something in the build and render the entire build useless with the flick of a switch, causing everyone who used the build to start testing out new try-hard build combinations to then repeat the cycle again. As you look at the current state of DBD as it is now, an ocean of worthless perks that don't get used, killer powers.
You mean like the 10 billion you're about to introduce that literally do jackass and nothing? Literally, do you hear yourself? I am being dead ass. Do you hear yourself? You just said again the ocean of useless perks, then you're like, nah, bro, let's just fucking introduce even more useless perks on purpose. Like, these don't seem like they should go together. These thought processes should not occupy the same person, but they are literally right next to each other, like this. Choy videos are hilarious.
That are insanely oppressive, other killers that never get used, survivors who stack second chances, gen rush builds, and exhausting exhaustion perks. How do you realistically fix any of this? You could try to add a ranked mode or remove skill-based matchmaking, but I honestly don't see that that would solve any of these complex problems. A currency system really does feel like the Deus Ex Machina for making DBD's core mode fun and variable again. And if you believe DBD is fun right now, that's totally fine. You're not wrong, but this is a genuine issue that a lot of players are having. Like, I didn't write these reviews. Look at the dates. Look at the thumbs ups. The only real major criticism I can think of in this video is that I clickbaited the title of it by saying COD's pick 10 system and then heavily altered everything about it to fix DBD's issues. But even that felt somewhat necessary to help explain this idea properly. One thing I've learned about making videos like this is that the DBD community is unfortunately very contrarian.
Okay, so this is Apex. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. Do another one. Okay, this is Dota 2, right? Got some thumbs up, thumbs down. This is like online gaming in general is the point I'm trying to get at. Live service games suffer from this so badly. So badly. Look at Siege. Siege is like that too. Like, this is online games in general. Like, live service games suffer from people just perpetually being attached to one meta versus another, versus one character versus the other, and as things change, they get bitter. Live service games suffer from this in general. It's not just a DBD problem. It's a live service game problem.
It's not that they'll necessarily disagree with an idea like this. That would be fine. I don't mind discussing these things, and sometimes I am legitimately wrong, or I have a bad take. The contrarian problem I'm referring to is this mindset of looking at a complex idea, like adding a currency system, and then finding one tiny little flaw that I overlooked or misspoke on, and then using that to justify tearing the entire idea apart. It's definitely one of the more frustrating aspects of creating videos like this.
Oh, hey. Hi. If you're gonna make the audacious claim that like this is gonna save Dead by Daylight, like this is gonna save the game and it's perfect, then like, yeah, then people are gonna look into that. Like, let's say that like Behavior looks into this and really likes this idea and wants to like start inputting this as soon as they possibly can, which will probably be a long time. But like, let's say Behavior watches this video and actually legitimately thinks it's a good idea and goes for it. Like, yeah, we should look into this then. we should look into it then, because if it's going to come to the game, it's got to be the best it can be. I agree. A lot of the DBD community can be just exceptionally contrarian for no reason. Just like, because a lot of that comes from them having an extreme bias to the survivor or the killer side and wanting just what's best for them and masking it as balance. COD uses a point system. That's what he's talking about.
Thanks for watching and
Hold
have
on. I skipped ahead.
of creating videos like this. That said, if you think a currency system is a good idea, or at least found it interesting, consider leaving the video a like, as it massively helps out the channel. Or if there's a glaring flaw, leave a juicy dislike and let me know about it down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and have a good one.
You always were one for fancy words.
I'm kind of uncomfortable after that last part. I'm like unironically kind of like a little uncomfortable after the last part. Like, it's frustrating and really challenging to make a system to replace something, especially something as pervasive as like a point system, right? But like for something so pervasive that changes so much, yeah, we should be critical of that. I don't like the idea that you disagree with me. Wow, there's just so many contrarians in the community, and yeah, you should just not. It's just like, I don't know. It was kind of outwardly hostile. Like, because like it's mostly fun. Like we're just like brainstorming things on what we can do better or worse in the game. It's not like, I guess so. It's not that deep. So to have them just be like, oh, well, DBD is full of contrarians, so I feel like the mood up until that point was like funny, right? Because like there were some out there ideas with this, like, hey, yo, screw Swift. I hate perk bloat, but also let's make more perk bloat. Like there was some funny stuff in there, right? Like legitimately, like, okay, well, that doesn't really work out. And realistically, we look back and we go, okay, well, how do we handle that then? Because maybe the negative perk idea shouldn't go through with this idea, because like, you know, we don't want more perk bloat, you know, perk bloat. And like, yeah. And then that makes sense. But like, I think the end where it was like, don't criticize me, you bunch of contrarians. Like, that was like, I don't know, kind of like, well, that kind of put a damper on the mood. I don't try to outwardly go into their videos to criticize them. I just think that as a result of how doom and gloom they feel about the game, a lot of the things they say end up being ridiculous at certain points. And if I hear something that's like, oh, hey, that's kind of like either unrealistic, not true, or exaggerated, I'm gonna be like, okay, that's unrealistic, untrue, or exaggerated. Or like if there's something that I think is going to be a bad thing for the game's health, like, hey, we're going to actively punish you for playing with your friends in game, regardless of if you have comms or not. Like, I'm going to say like, okay, well, that's not a good idea, because so many people play this game. The heart of this game is the casual player base. The veterans are not the ones that prop up this game. It's the casual player base. It's the person that just likes Resident Evil and wants to play Leon more, or Nemesis, because like you're not allowed to play as Nemesis in the games. At least in the remakes. You're allowed to play as Nemesis in the remake, so like getting able to play as remake Nemesis, this is the only like game you could experience that in. Same thing with Myers. There's not a Myers game, so like if you want to play as Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise, you have to play this game. There's so much of a casual player base to this that this would like. So the idea of like punishing people for playing casually on the Survivor side is like not, you know, in this case it would be something like something that's overlooked, right? Like you said, there's something you overlooked. It's like that, but like also I think it's just like the caveat at the end, like just the aggression towards criticism that I just I don't know, maybe not. If it's not wanted, it's not wanted.